This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know. Some rockstar dads who started a show. So here's the next episode.
Welcome to the Rockstar Dad Show, and my name is Jaret, and with me, as always, is Gary.
Yo!
And, Gary, we got a great show for everybody. Later on, a repeat guest, Scott Sean White, who I always want to call Sean Scott White because of that guy from American Pie.
Yeah. What's his name?
Sean Scott. Well, I don't know. Sean Scott something. But he's the guy. Stifler.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's the what's the thing in the, is it Old School where he Will Ferrell shoots himself with the tranquilizer gun?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
you shot yourself in the jugular.
Yeah. You shot yourself.
Yeah, you're crazy, man.
You're crazy, man. How you doing, dude?
Dude, I am doing awesome. We're coming up on end of the year here with school stuff and sports stuff. And I'm doing good, man. We only have a few baseball games left, which is like kind of sad, but also kind of like, oh, we're going to have some free time back in our lives.
Is he going to play summer league or anything?
He may like do some tournaments or something with another team, but his team's not doing summer. And then he's got like the first half of summer that he has a baseball camp at the high school, and it's like pretty intense.
Yeah, you told me about that. It's like it's like weights and all that shit, and then they play baseball. And
he and his friends like came home from it last year, and they're just like, almost in tears because it's like an intense, tough camp.
Yeah. Well, I hope he gets some time to just chill, but they can't chill too much because these fucking screens, right? But so Everett has completed karate. He's a black belt now.
Yeah.
And he at his final test, he had to fight two people at once. And directly after, it was like, hey man, you can keep going if you want to, and this counts as exercise and all that. And he goes, I am done. Getting punched in the face sucks. And we're like, we understand that. Because even at like half speed, 11, 12-year-old kids don't really get that concept, and they're punching each other in the fucking face,
Really? I didn't know that in those classes they actually did contact.
Gary, they start sparring at like fucking 4. I'm not joking. They put gloves on them, and you like have a bag that you carry, and once a week you literally are sparring. And for the most part, when you're little kids, they're just kind of running around in a circle. But now he's 11. So he's fighting 11, 12, 13-year-old kids, and all of them are black belts,
Wow.
And so he's getting tagged in the face, and he doesn't like it, which I totally
understandable.
Yeah. Totally. But the thing is, the thing that I love about it is, and the reason they do it is because he's not scared to get punched in the face. Like he would stand up to somebody, he knows that it's going to suck, but he knows, kind of like getting hit by a baseball, right? Like, man, really, unless it's your elbow or like that one part of your knee, you're going to
ankle or something. Yeah.
Ankle. You're going to be fine. Right. But, other than that, but of course, if it hits your elbow, shit. That's why the pros wear those things now. So anyway, karate is done. And then baseball is done. We just have a tournament now. And then he is going to spend his summer. He's going to go to the gym 3 times a week.
Okay.
And the rest of it, as long as he goes out and plays, he doesn't have to do anything else. So he doesn't have to go sports camp. He doesn't have to go to golf camp if he doesn't want to.
When he's going to the gym, is he like you're dropping him off and he's going to the gym, or is he going with a trainer, a class? What's he got going on?
It's a trainer.
Okay.
And so he actually goes with Casey. twice a week right now, and she goes 3 times. But they do a 45-minute workout. It's like the full thing, kind of like what I used to do at Jesse James. Like, one day you do legs and one day you do arms and back and, whatever. And he's very strong, and it wears him out, but it's like, dude, you're going to get out there and get in the pool. You're going to go play. Because the minute we see that of course, we've got now she has his screen time on lockdown. So he can only be on his iPad a certain amount of time anyway.
Right.
But it's like the minute we see that, you're just watching screens all day and not making an attempt to go play or whatever, then, we're going to sign up for something. And here's the thing. It's hot outside. It really does become a ghost town here in Texas once we get to about mid-June, right? I mean, there's no kids outside.
Yeah, but I mean, I 100% get that. But I mean, there's still, once it gets past, 6, 7 p.m., you still have a couple hours of sunlight, daylight, and it's cooled down a little bit. And, you don't have to go do sprints around the neighborhood, but like you can go hang out with your friends at the pool, right?
Go hang, or you can hang out, or shoot some baskets or throw the football or whatever, but he's got to get outside. And so anyway, that's the deal we made. But he's still doing music. He has piano and drum set lessons, and he's about to have to start taking snare drum lessons because he made the drum line. And so did Tyler have to do that? Like start taking like special lessons?
He didn't have to. They offer it. Like the instructors that work with percussion at our school offer it, and he hadn't done it yet, but he may want to do it next year because he is wanting to make drumline in high school. So he might want to do that next year.
Did y'all have to rent like one of those fucking marimbas or whatever?
We didn't have to do that. I don't know if some kids do or not. He's like taken to it really, really well. He practices at school. So like on his lunch periods, he goes and eats lunch really quick, and then he just goes to the band hall and practices. So he's getting a lot of practice in on his own. That being said, we did get him like one of those small little bell sets, but it's not like a full-size marimba, but he's practices on that a little bit, not a ton. He's practicing his snare practice pad all the time. He practices marimba, or not marimba, but bells a little bit. And it's kind of cool because he's starting to get to the point where like he can hear stuff and go figure it out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know that like there's a cool little marimba piece on like one of my favorite movies, True Romance. And he hadn't seen that movie yet because it's way too violent and crazy for him. But he's heard that song because he was showing me different stuff. And I was like, hey, here's a cool song. And I showed it to him and he liked it. And like he's in his room figured out how to play that song.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I that's so cool when they do that, right? Everett, one day I heard him up there and he was just figuring out that piano part that comes on before the Black Parade. The My Chemical Romance song. Dun, 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 dun. And one day I heard him up there, he was figuring out Crazy Train on the piano. It's just awesome. I like, I mean,
so there's something else he can be doing during the summer, right? Instead of just screen time, go figure out some piano shit.
Yeah. Or, his drum set or whatever, that's just it, right? Like I didn't really start playing drums until I was 12 or 13.
Same.
And I just wanted to play all the time. Like I did have to, my mom would sort of like ask me to practice because I did take some snare drum lessons and stuff. Because, and so she would ask, but to play my drums, I didn't have to be asked. I was just playing them all the time. And he just doesn't have that. And so I was actually talking about this to Casey. I was talking about Tyler and I said, Tyler wasn't just playing drums all the time. And then he got in a junior high band and he's like in it, like he's into it. And this is what he was telling me and you telling me or whatever. And again, he didn't even tell me the part about using his lunch hour to go practice, but it sounds, they just, if they're going to want to do it, they're going to want to do it. You kind of,
whatever it is, they're going to figure something out and that's what they're going to want to do. So hopefully, I don't ever want to like tell Tyler what he has to do, but hopefully you can steer them in the direction of it being something good, right? Because they don't have any activity, what they're going to want to do is sit around and do nothing and get in trouble with their friends, right? So you got to have something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Tyler was passionate, crazy about baseball, and he still is. He still really enjoys it. He wants to play. That's where his friends are. He's good at it. He you know, he still takes pitching lessons and he takes it serious. But we don't talk about baseball as much as we used to. Like used to on the way to a game and on the way home from a game, it was just baseball. And now on the way to a game, he's talking about band and he's passionate about that and figuring that out. And I think we've talked about this, but like his biggest worry in life right now is, can he do drumline in high school and baseball in high school? And hopefully he can. If right now at this moment, if he were to have to pick one, I think he might actually pick drumline over baseball, which is shocking. And I don't know if scary is the right word, but like, I don't want baseball to be over for him yet, but also whatever he's passionate about and wanting to do, I want him to do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, right? Like I'm sort of sad that baseball is ending. We talked about this I think I brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Like, you know, there's the whole thing. Like one day your kid's going to go outside to play for the last time. You know, one day you're going to pick up your kid for the last time. And it's like one day I'm going to see my last little league sporting event. You know, I started with Emma playing soccer, and we went through all the sports with Jack, and we've done basketball and baseball and soccer with Everett. And it looks like this might be it. I mean, he is going to go into junior high and do pre-athletics, which is cool because he gets a taste of all of it, you know, in the 6th grade, and then in 7th, they can start to make their choices. And it seems fairly obvious that they're going to push him towards football because he's a bigger kid and he's really, really strong. Like Gary, like really strong, like fucking strong. Like the other day, like he fucking stiff armed my hand and it like hurt me. And I was like trying to be tough, and I was like, my fucking hand hurts, my elbow hurts and shit. Now I'm a mess, and maybe that he just hit it right, but I'm like, Jesus Christ, don't ever do that again. You know, like that fucking hurt.
Yeah, there's been a few times recently, like roughhousing with Tyler, and dude, he's a grown man now. You know, like he doesn't have that reserve. You know, he has the reserve, right? He hadn't figured out how to tap into that, like whether it be anger or whatever, right? But he's strong. He's strong when he wants to be, and he also is stubborn enough to where he's not gonna like give up. You know, I think the other day they had some competition at school, like in athletics, and they were doing group tug of war and then doubles tug of war and then individual tug of war. And he's a big kid, but he's not the biggest, like, you know, he's not the heftiest kid. He's tall. And he's like, yeah, I went undefeated. No one beat me. And I was like, really? He's like, I just wasn't going to let anyone win.
Sure. I get it. Yeah. He that kid, we got beast kids.
Yeah.
You know, and they could be in a Slipknot band with 2 drummers. You know, one of them just has to play the barrels, you know, whatever. Hey, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about stuff. Sean Scott, damn it, I did it. Scott Sean White is coming up later in the show. He's a Nashville songwriter who is now a solo artist in his own right. And this dude's got Cody Johnson cuts. And for those of you who don't know what that means, I'm sorry, I'm industry talking. He has songs on Cody Johnson albums.
Are you a musician splaining?
I'm a musician splaining. Yeah. Guys, listen to this. We'll be right back. More Rockstar Dad Show. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show right here on Adobe Radio or wherever you get your podcasts. You can literally listen to us. We're on all of them. You know, the only thing that we don't have is our own app. And you know why? Because those things suck to make. And also,
I don't think we're streaming on our old MySpace either. We don't have a MySpace.
We do not. No, we never had a MySpace or a, you know, like we do have a Facebook and we have a YouTube. You guys can go, you can watch us, by the way. You can watch this happen, this magic on both those places. And it's great. And then, oh, by the way, if you're listening to us on Adobe Radio, you get 55 minutes. Man, sometimes we give you an extra 3, 4, 5 minutes, on the podcast version. You're not going to want to miss that.
I think there's been a few specials where we went really, really long, but
oh yeah, there's been a couple that were ridiculous.
isn't that
And,
weird to think about the old MySpace place though? Like it's just a bunch of old abandoned digital footprints
Yeah.
at this point. No one goes there, but it's still up and running.
just exists. It's like
Yeah.
Atlantis, like it's like the the hidden cities and shit, right? Like
But I think there's
it's
still like
there.
just there's a bunch of like spam bots putting stuff out there, but why? Because no real person is there.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that people still go get back into their account. I can't because I haven't tried actually.
Yeah.
But I don't think
I can't because I don't give a shit.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that like there's a couple of things in the world. I just experienced this with British Airways. But there's a couple of things in the world that I can't fuck with anymore because I can't get my old account back because I don't have I don't have any access to that old email address,
Yeah.
So like it, I don't even know how you would go about it. And honestly, again, I don't give a shit. I think it would be funny to see, because I don't know how long I stuck around for it. I feel like we, we're sort of late getting into it, first of all, because I remember we were making Drunk Enough to Dance, and Christy at Ruby Red Studio was like, hey, what was that band? Starts with an M. Had just finished recording there. Not Midlake, like a pop punk band, but
Midtown.
Midtown was just here, and they showed us this thing called MySpace. You got to see this thing. You like pick your friends and shit. And it was like, what is it?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? And then, we all got on there and got to be friends with each other and friends with them. And, but then it's just like, that's when the high school shit started. That's when like all of a sudden we're just all of a sudden back in touch with people from high school that we thought we would never see again.
Yeah.
And you know what? MySpace and Facebook, they got together. A lot of people don't know this. They were like, death to the high school reunion. You don't need them anymore. You don't need to go. Because honestly,
they're still doing them though. People still do high school reunions.
Kinda, I guess. I don't know. Why would you go though? I can see all the pictures of people's kids that I want. Man, no offense to anybody that I went to high school with. Listen, I'm probably forgetting you, but I'm sort of in touch with everybody I need to be, from back then. I mean, I go home, like I do these, I do these country shows in Wichita Falls now, and I see people from high school, and it's nice. And it's nice to have a chat, but we don't need to spend 2 days together.
I'm with you on that. Like to me, I'm just in touch with whoever I still want to be in touch with. And that's perfectly fine. But they're still doing high school reunions. It's a reason to go party with your old friends, like, I don't know. I think you and I may have a different situation than most people.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because we party with our friends all the time. You know what it is? It's like people getting backstage, right? They're just excited about it. And we're like, oh, okay. Man, like when I go backstage to see another band, like if I am invited back or whatever, like I'm in and out so fast.
I was going to say, even when it's like bands that we've toured with and hang out with and are good friends with, I want to say, hey, and get the hell out of there.
That's what I do. I get you want a beer? Nope, I'm good. I got one. Or if I don't have one, I'll be like, sure, I'll take one. And then I drink about half of it and then I take the rest with me. But I'm like in and out, and I, observing everything, right? I tried not to have to go to the bathroom, like just the whole shit the last thing that I want is I'm so self-conscious about it. So self-conscious about the whole thing,
Yep.
And like, I don't want the tour manager to have to take, because every time I do this, it's like this whole thing where the tour manager has to come get me, and then they feel like they got to walk me back out and shit. And I'm like, man, you have other stuff to do. You don't have to, now I feel like I'm a lot of trouble, and I don't Yeah, I don't like that feeling.
Yeah. No one
But
wants to be trouble.
no, but I do. But I like to go see my friends when they come here. Sometimes though, it's like if it's like less than Jake or whatever, what I do is I just go before the show, and then um, I was gonna try to make this funny, but it's just so silly. Uh, I had been drinking with them, I went down there early.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, come down here like an hour early and let's drink some beers or whatever." And I would never do that, but it's them, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Fuck, I'm gonna do it." So I go down like an hour before doors, right? And we end up drinking until they're set, right? They're headlining. So I've been drinking with them for 3 hours, and it's like everybody starts to go to the stage, and context clues were not working by then, Gary. I'm still on their bus, and me and Roger are the last ones there because he's getting baked, and I'm just like sitting there. Me and Casey are sitting there. She goes, "Oh, and Dave." And they're like, "Should we go?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we should go. Hey, buddy, we'll see you up there." It's, okay. He's in the back of the lounge, the back lounge. But yeah, it's few and far between what bands I would like that I'm super comfortable backstage with, where I would just go and hang.
Yeah, I meant to go that night, and I forgot that was the night they were in town, and I didn't go
Yeah.
that night. But yeah, I've still got a young kid, like Mia. It's still hard to get away some nights, and I really have to plan ahead. We have to like plan now. So, she's getting close to where things are going to start being easier on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's just it. I was talking about this yesterday. I was doing an interview with the Dallas Observer about our upcoming birthday shows. And
Yep.
she was like, "What does everybody else do?" Because she was like, everything I do is pretty much out in the public, right? And
Yep.
but I'm a dad and that stuff too, which is not always out there, but a lot of it is. But I'm just like, well, Gary still has like a young kid, and then he's got a really, really busy teenager and a wife that's a nurse, and then he dabbles in real estate and whatever. But he's always busy, and I'm like, Rob is like a part-time accountant, and he and he has a fucking toddler at home, and then but so he's kind of Mr. Mom too when he's home. And then I'm like, and then Chris is just happy being in Bowling for Soup, and that's fucking great. Like he's got a simple life, and he seems very happy in it.
That kind of puts a bow on all that. That's wraps it all up.
Fucking summed it up for everybody. But like the crew guys all have to do other shit. Dave doesn't anymore. Dave fucking worked his way up into retainer. But the thing that sucks about that is he has to drive like if we have to sign something, he has to go drive to all of our houses because none of us are going to meet anywhere. Fuck that. I don't have time for that shit.
I just think it's still crazy that, we can't just e-sign all this shit.
Man, there's so many things that are like that in the world right now. Like the fact that you can't e-sign everything. Like there should be a thing. This exists, by the way, because Adobe already does it on a computer where you sign it and it's like it has to be you to do it, right? Like it's on your computer. So like you should be able to do it from your phone to your possession, whatever. Like even if you have to like take a picture of yourself or whatever, like there should just be a way.
I 100% get that. I mean, there's a bunch of different digital applications that are encrypted and notated, and here's the documentation on who did what, right? But there's also like, okay, you're gonna have Dave's gonna drive across town so I can sign a piece of paper with a pen, because that's legit. But we can't just email me a PDF and on my iPad take a Apple Pencil and sign it in an annotated app that's the
Yeah.
exact same signature. Like, how is that not a thing? And what I'm getting at is the digital signing stuff, not the Apple Pen, is way more legit, way more way easier to prove who did what on what machine. Like, if ever there is a lawsuit, like, you can prove what machine and what state and whatever that signature came from. You can't
You
do that
signed
with an
into
ink
that
pen.
app. Yeah.
You can't
No,
do that with an ink pen. So I don't know. I don't get it.
This fucking sucks. I'm glad you brought this up, by the way. We just had to buy a new printer. And I thought I was done buying printers. I swear to God, I bought one like 6-7 years ago. And I thought, man, this is the last one. You know, I'm 7 years from now, I'll be seeing my kid play his last little league game.
And just done printing.
And he'll have a black belt. We'll take this motherfucker out in the field like Office Space and just beat the fuck out of it, right? And we'll all that but we had to buy a goddamn printer. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
The stuff that you have to print now. Still, it's crazy. There should be no government document that you should have to print. And like now for like all three companies, I have to print this shit out or they have to send it to me. And I have to sign it in ink or whatever. And then I have to physically mail it. It's like there's so many steps and so much. It's wasted paper. It's wasted money, wasted time.
Wasted
Wasted
gas.
days and wasted nights. Damn it.
Yeah.
Man, now I'm all fucking riled up. I will say
you all
that
fired up.
printer's kind of nice. It's an Epson. We had a Canon before. It was fine. But this Epson seems to be working fine, and everybody can print from their phone that comes over, which is part of the reason. I think the old one, like, it probably just needed an update of the firmware, but Casey was super frustrated with it, and I wasn't home, and so I just get another one. They're like $75, right? And just get another one and be done with this shit, and because people come over and they need to print shit from their phone all the time, like it's so, again, we're back to it. Why is that? It's so stupid.
Yeah. I'm going like the biggest thing I hate about having the printer is, we can print from our phones and our laptops and whatever all over the house. But for some reason, even though I've walked everyone through on how to do it time and time again, anytime someone needs to print something, I have to print it for them.
Oh, yeah. So that's the thing, right? That's where we were at is, hey, I'm going to need your help with the printer all the time. And so, and honestly, that was actually my motivation as well. Was like, man, I gotta get out of this because, and that I just can't, because it's always one of those things where it's like, and it's not her fault. It's the way that it's set up and all of that. And it works on my shit and, whatever. But it's like, hey, later I need you to print this, and then for whatever reason we forget, and then it's like the next day I'm not here and we're messing around trying to figure out what the hell we're gonna do.
But even when someone does figure out how to actually do it on their device, for some reason it's always out of paper or it's out of ink. So even though they've got like, I've got to go reload the paper, I've got to go reload the ink. Yeah.
It's so true. You're so fucking right. Like it's out of magenta, and you're like, just click okay.
Black and white. Yeah, it's black and white. Who gives a shit about magenta?
Who gives a fuck about magenta? Just click okay. It'll still be fine. Oh no, it only printed half the page. Oh shit, it's on two-sided. God damn it. And why do they make the default two-sided? Is that because we're trying to save the trees? Now we're printing too much.
Yeah, you're printing too much on this printer. That's for printing.
So you know what we got to do? Let's make everything double-sided. We'll save paper, right? And then, but if you're not using some good goddamn paper, which is more trees, then if you can't hold it in the air and see what you're reading, because the other side shines through.
It's ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. God damn it, everybody. Like, y'all figure this out,
Yeah. Let's cut all the printing out.
Let's cut all the stupid printing. Guys, you're listening to the Rockstar Dad Show. Coming up, Scott Sean White. Such a fun guy, great songwriter, great musician. great dad, great grandpa. And I just found out a great Akita owner. And so that's coming up next. But first, y'all listen to this, and we'll be right back with more Rockstar Dad Show. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. And as I said, we're getting into that time, Gary, where we got to have some of our favorite guests back, because life changes.
Yeah, life changes, and we're starting to get pretty deep into the show, man. So yeah, it's time to start having some people back.
Scott Shawn White, I saw open up for Radney Foster, who I didn't know I knew who that was. And let me back up. Scott Shawn White, welcome to the show. How are you, bud?
Man, thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
Now, I saw you guys in Pottsboro, Texas, at a place that has closed down, and I'm so bummed because that place was so awesome. But it's like little dinner, not even a theater. It's just like a dinner venue, and you go in and you have like a real nice meal. They've got like a little quaint bar. It's family owned.
Yep.
And anyways, Casey's aunt and uncle are real big into Texas country, and just country is the red dirt stuff. And they were like, "Hey, you want to go see Radney Foster?" And I'm like, "I'll go see anybody, but I don't even know who that is." Of course, I knew every song,
Right.
because that man has his hand in so much stuff, writing for, so many of the especially the Randy Rogers stuff. I mean, all his really big songs are either written or co-written by Randy. But you opened up, Scott, and I just loved your storytelling and your ability to tell, just that, to be able to tell a story within your song. And you could tell you'd been doing it for a long time. And so let's just start from there, because a lot's changed in your life since we talked to you last. When we last
I put out the first record, and then you saw me at the Radney show, and I didn't even know who you were.
That's all right.
After the show, and you were super complimentary and everything. And then I forget if I ran across you on social media. And then I was like, "Holy crap! That's the guy who for soup!"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man, that's crazy." And and then too, since then, I've written a handful of songs with Radney. One of which is on my new album. And then I have several that I wrote with him and Jesse Robb Jr. That's on Jesse's new album that's coming out later this year, probably, that Radney produced. And I've been open to Radney a lot more. It's been crazy.
When I saw you, though, you had just gotten the cut on the Cody Johnson record, your first one. I think you've gotten a couple more since then.
Yeah.
And then when we had you on the show, you were about to meet your grandbaby for the first time.
I was. That's right. Probably my grandson. Because I have two granddaughters that are 6 and 3, and then the grandson is now just turned 2 on April 20th.
Wow.
So yeah, that's wild. It has been a minute.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So a lot's changed, because you were sort of, when I met you, you were kind of just dipping your toe into I'm going to see how it is actually being an artist. I've just really been a songwriter now. But you know what? I'm there. I've been touring around Texas, and I was pulling into Amarillo, and you were on the radio, and I was just like, "My boy!" I sent you a picture of it.
I did. You did. That was awesome. I've gotten a few of those from friends, and yeah, it's crazy. I put out that first record, and then when I put that one out, I realized, well, now I have to keep putting out records. Yeah. and so that's kind of the plan. I'm going to start working on the third album probably later this year, towards the end of the year. And go figure. When I first went to Nashville in 2005, my whole goal was just to write songs for other people. I mean, that was it. And it's still a goal, but it's no longer the goal. Like, now that I'm out here playing shows and touring and telling my stories and telling the crazy story of my life in general, It's become a whole different thing, you know. And yeah, I gotten 3 Cody Johnson cuts so far. One coming out, the newest one is coming out on a deluxe version of his leather album, which will be rolling out in the fall. And I've got a bunch of Brian Martin cuts. He's a new guy that's just tearing it up, and he and I have been friends 7 or 8 years. And there's a bunch of songs with my name on it coming out here. I hope one of them is 1 or 8 of them are giant hits.
Man, I hope so too. I got to tell you though, I mean, I wonder this from a songwriter standpoint, because my experience in songwriting really I haven't written a whole lot on spec. It's almost always been like, hey, we're going to write this for this artist and see if they'll cut it, or, whatever. So I just wonder, this question is twofold. First of all, are there songs that have been laying around for like 8-10 years and you're just like, my God, like you get it in your head all the time and you're like, how have I not found a home for that? And then secondly, is there ever sort of like a tug of war of like, man, I need to keep that for myself, that's a really good song? Or are you like, man, I should pitch that to somebody else and see if it could go gangbusters?
Well, let me answer the second question first. I never keep a song for myself because I'll make $8 for me.
Right.
I mean, as far as on the actual song being out in the world, obviously those things make me money as far as getting me gigs and house concerts and all that stuff. But so no, I don't keep anything for myself. Definitely there are songs that have been laying around for a while. You probably heard a song that night called Piano for Sale. I probably played it that night, and it's 7 or 8 years old, and several famous people have threatened to record it. Like Cody Johnson had it on hold for the same album he put God Bless the Boy and Made a Home on, but he didn't record it. There's been miscellaneous other artists in Nashville that have flirted with the idea but haven't done it. I think that song will find a home at some point. I'm encouraged by stories like, I don't know if you ever heard this, but there's a ton of stories like this. But the song I always bring up is Bless the Broken Road by Rascal Flatts. Was 13 years old when they cut it. Wow. And so they say the average age of a song in Nashville when it gets cut is about 7 years old.
No shit.
Yes, because they either get cut right away, right when they get written, everybody's excited, they send them out, somebody goes yes, or everybody goes, it's cool, but and then 10, 12, 13 years later, somebody cuts it, and voila, your average is 7 years. So
there's so many songs and so many writers, you would just think that it would just get buried in the pile. Do you think
that what's going on in that time is it that, hey, this is a great song and it just takes a while for it to find the right people, the right moment, the right whatever? Or during that time, is it getting nurtured and picked and added to and made a little bit better?
I think it's mostly that it's just getting it's just finding a home. That we talk about all the time in Nashville, that all the stuff that has to happen for you to get what they call an outside cut. For somebody to cut a song, an artist to cut a song that they're not a writer on, is called an outside cut. And for that to happen, you have to, like, I'm just going to run down a random list. You have to catch the right A&R person in the right mood on the right day for the right artist, for the right album, for the right slot on that album, just to get it past the first person that they call the gatekeepers, And then it's got to do all that again for the next A&R person, and then the producer, and then the artist. All these things have to fall into place, for that to happen. So
do you find yourself, though, now that you're locked in and you've been in that world for 20 years, you've obviously had some cuts. I'm sure it's few and far between if you do this, but you can sort of get around that now, right? Like if you had a song, you wrote a song and you were like, dude, Cody, you got to hear this. And you could go straight to Cody Johnson and play it for him. But that takes a lot of time to get that. You got to develop those relationships, right? Right.
Yeah. And those relationships don't happen overnight. Even the Cody relationship, it's through a mutual friend. And like, I don't have Cody's phone number yet. You know, I have people literally have people text me or message me all the time. Hey man, do you know how I can get a song with Cody? I was like, I can't get a song directly to Cody. I have to go through my friend. You know, but I said, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And but yeah, it's all about, you know, this business is exactly like life. It's all about relationships. Period. End of story. And relationships, there's no shortcut to them, right? They take time. Real relationships that you can actually use in that way take time. You know,
I tell the young people this all the time. Like, young people are like, I want to tour, or I want to write songs for this guy, or I'm like, what do I got? I need to get an agent so I can do this or do this, you know, and I got to get a publisher so I can do this and do this. It's like, dude, you know, you don't get they don't just hand you the keys when that happens. It's going to be about you getting out there, busting your ass, meeting people, and relationships. Sometimes it is those relationships with that agent or that publisher. But and in turn, it always ends up being them going to bat for you, you know, basically going in and going, hey, I know this guy, blah, 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 and introducing you. And so it's all so much just relationships.
It is. And even publishers, it's so difficult for even a really good publisher in Nashville, a really well-connected publisher in Nashville, to get an outside song cut. I mean, it's almost like winning the lottery. It's really, really hard. And the song, if you didn't write it with the artist, the song has to be great. It reminds me of, I saw this sign in an elevator in College Station. I went to see Cody a couple of years ago, and the hotel I was staying at had this sign, and it said, it had a list of 10 to 1, right? 10 down to 1, and 10 and 9 said, well, the question at the top was, you know, would you, how likely are you to recommend us to your friends and business associates? And 10 and 9 said, we succeeded. Thank you very much. Everything 8 and below was shaded and said, we failed. How can we do better?
Right.
And when I saw that, I thought, well, that's exactly what it's like to try to get an outside song cut in Nashville. The song better be a 9 or a 10 if it wasn't written with the artist. Now, if you write it with the artist, you can write a 1 sometimes and get it cut. No offense to
it. They just got to be invested. They've got to be invested in it and love it and all of that. You know,
they got to love it so much. They have to record it. You know, Tom Douglas, who wrote House That Built Me and, you know, Grown Men Don't Cry and all sorts of stuff. He told me one time something that's always stuck with me. And it goes back to that 9 or, you know, it's got to be a 9 or a 10 to get cut. He said, man, we just have to write it so good that they have to record it.
Right.
And that's how you get an outside cut. Even if you got a great publisher who's super well connected, knows everybody, man, if the artist isn't on it, that song better be House That Built Me.
Yeah. One of the greatest country songs of all time. We're talking to Scott Sean White, who is a Nashville songwriter, but also 2 albums out now. And I believe the second one just came out earlier this year when we started trying to get you on the show. And man, you know, you're busy, we're busy. And here we are finally connecting. Now, let's go back. For those who didn't hear your other episode, they need to go listen to that, by the way. You know, you're obviously a rock star dad. Now your kids are grown.
They are.
And let's talk about them real quick. What's the family up to these days?
Well, my daughters are 34 and 31. Grandkids are 6, 3, and 2. Okay. Everybody is healthy, healthy, not wealthy, and a little wiser than the last time we talked. The daughters and the sons are all teachers and coaches, and doing good. And when I say sons, I mean my son-in-laws, but they're sons. They're just great. And just busy. I just see them when I can because I'm on the road a lot. I just got home from being gone 24 out of 25 days.
All that. So, I saw there's a video of you you posted a day of you coming home and your dog seeing you for the first time. And
Mhm.
that's pretty much what happens with me when I come off tour. Then I've got one after he's greeted me and he goes crazy. Then he's mad at me for about a day and a half.
Like, how dare you ditch me for that
Oh,
long?
man. He will
Where
turn. He'll
have
just,
you been?
yeah, he won't lay on me. He'll just go, and he's huge, but he usually lays in my lap, and he'll lay across the room and put his head away from me, and then every once in a while just turn and look at me, and just mad,
so-
just mad. But
They're so
well,
great.
welcome home. How was the tour?
It was good. I had a couple of weeks that I went out to West Texas, Hotel Turkey, and that's not too long after you heard the song on the radio in Amarillo. Did some shows in Amarillo. Then I went to New Mexico and wrote a little bit. Then went out to Arizona, Phoenix area, played a couple of shows. Drove back to Albuquerque, played a show. Drove home, was home for a day. Went to Nashville to work for a few days. Played in Alabama, went to Nashville, and then flew to Key West to play the Key West Songwriters Festival. And got back home yesterday from all that. So it was great. Bunch of people, bunch of shows, feeding the soul and trying to make progress and, build on relationships, particularly the Key West Songwriters Festival. That thing is like all of Nashville moves to Key West for 5 days.
Right. Yeah.
And so really we see our industry more in 5 days there than we do in like a year on the streets of Nashville, because everybody's just there. It's a lot of fun.
Key West's a pretty tiny place, so everyone's got to be consolidated into just a few blocks at that point.
Yeah. Most of it is on the west side of the island, most of the events. So yeah. Now my hotel was on the east side of the island, so I did have a 25-minute walk back and forth every day, but that was good. I needed the exercise.
Yeah, you should have rented a golf cart, because that's the best thing to do in Key West. I love it.
Well, I was saving money and exercising. So
I got it. Yeah. Now I remember, you singing the praises of your supportive wife on the last episode.
Boy. Yeah.
And so it certainly sounds like that has not dwindled at all, because you've been gone 25 days. What's that honey-do list like right now?
You have to win the wife lottery in this business, to be able to keep her. That's for sure. But there's plenty of great women out there, great women who just would never, function in this situation. And I totally understand. I'm just glad I got one that not only functions in it, but thrives in it. And when I'm the one that's, like, babe, I miss you so much, I don't know if I can do this, she's like, hey, this is what you do for a living, you need to figure it out.
When you go somewhere fun like Key West, she doesn't want to say, hey, I'm going to meet you there, I'll be there for a few days.
Now, usually she goes to that. This is the first year since 2018 that she did not go, because Key West is so expensive.
Yeah.
And leading up to this year, she said, we agreed, we're like, we could have just a, balling vacation for half the money anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because Key West, the hotels are so much and everything else. So this one I just did by myself, but yeah. And I'm going to go to Denmark, a festival in Denmark in September again that I've done a couple of times. And she's not going this year, but if I go again next year, maybe we'll figure out a way for her to go.
Everyone's always asking my wife, hey, do you get to go with the band from wherever? And she's like, I don't want to be on that tour bus with, all those stinky boys. But if we're in Vegas,
right?
If we go to Vegas for 3 or 4 days, she's going to be there. If we go to Florida for 3 or 4 days, if we go to Hawaii, something like that. But she doesn't want to be day to day with us.
Yeah, and it's just a lot, and plus she has a real job. Somebody has to have a real job around here. And we have 5 acres and a couple of horses and the 3 Akitas and the grandkids. 2 of the grandkids are 30 minutes away. So there's just a lot of life here too that she can't be gone for a week at a time very often. So
yeah, there's a lot to do there, and so obviously you were already a grandpa of 2 little girls, and now you got a grandson. and I'm sure he's going to want to run around the 5 acres and get dirty. You guys probably got plenty of stuff out there for him to do.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing too about my grandson that I realize is it's a cool thing and a funny thing. His middle name is Scott.
Yeah.
Which when they revealed that, I'll tell you straight up, I teared up.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Because to come from the childhood I had, which the short version is, if you haven't heard my music, it was a real violent, insane, pretty, tough childhood. And to come from that to being a granddad that my kids want to, partially name their kid after, made me tear up. But then the funny part of this is that, okay, so I was all like just touched by that and crying about that when I found out. And then about 2 months ago, I was at their house and he was in trouble for something. They said, Caden Scott. And I realized, well, wait a minute. They only say my name when they're mad at him. Oh, man. I didn't think about that.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's funny because I'm named after my grandpa. My middle name is Ray. And Jaret Ray was the only time I ever heard that was when my mom was mad. And then I started the country thing. And now, like, whenever I hear Jaret Reddick, I still have sort of that, wait, what did I do?
What I do?
And yeah, when you hear that middle name, that certainly, so already working on, I mean, it seems like you're cranking out music pretty quick because it was only a couple of years that you were here. Your first record had just gotten done. You've already got your second album out. I mean, you seem like you're really, really driven right now. What do you feel like is the driving force there?
I think a large part of it is starting to play all these shows, these house concerts in these listening rooms, and telling my story. It's become completely unexpectedly. Like when I got into this, I wasn't trying to do any kind of ministry. It wasn't a goal. It wasn't on the radar anywhere at all. And yet I play these shows and I tell my story, just real stories about my life. And I sing these songs that a lot of them are real stories about my life and the impact that I'm just so, I don't know, amazed and humbled and bewildered that, the impact it has on people when they come up to me and talk to me or message me. And so I didn't see that coming. And it's more rewarding, far more rewarding than any other part of this business. Definitely more rewarding than the financial part.
Sure.
Although I'm making a living, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that it turned into this thing where I was realized, like I said, when I first went to Nashville, my only goal was to have other people record songs of mine that I'd written. And now it's like, well, no, I apparently need to go out here and put out my own music and along with, trying to get other people to record songs. But, matter of fact, that's why I'm going to start working on the third record at the end of this year. I don't want to wait another, 2 years in between records. So, and I have plenty of songs, that's not a problem. I've written over 900 in the last 20 years. And
I guess that's it, right? It's not like you have to go in and write a record. You could write a couple that you're excited about and fill in the gaps with things that you feel like the world needs to hear. That's a pretty good position to be in.
Yeah, and it's just too, since I put these records out, and I probably mentioned this on the last time we talked, but man, the whole BU voice that was in my ear the whole time I was making the first record has just gotten louder and louder and cemented into what I'm doing is just be authentically me, which people sometimes are like, what genre are you? Well, if you have to fit me in one, I guess it's Americana or folk or singer songwriter, but I'm just me. I don't know. And that's all I worry about when I make the records, So.
Yeah. I mean, it makes total sense. Gary, you look like you were about to say something.
I'm trying to phrase a question, I guess. Where's the voice of the be me coming from? Is that a maturity? Is that a tired of trying to do something else, be something else? Is that, are you getting outside inspiration from somewhere else? Where's that be me voice coming from?
Man, that's a great question. The maturity thing definitely figures into it. I mean, I just turned 56 and I put my first record out in 2021. So I was 53 when it came out. If I had made records in my 20s or 30s, I'll tell you right now, I would have tried to be something commercial for radio. I would have been all about trying to be famous and all that stuff. And the good thing about starting this late in life, putting out your own records, is that I fully know who I am now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas in my 20s and 30s, I would have just been trying to be famous and not really worried about who am I, who am I in my art. So when you put your first record out at, age 53, and, like I said, just fully aware of who I am. I also realized along the way that, and this is true of everybody at age freaking 16 or 70, if you're going to put art out of any kind, I think I have learned, because I am older, that your absolute best chance of succeeding is to be you, because there's no other you in the universe. You are the best you that has ever been made. There is no Jaret Ray Reddick that has ever been as good as this Jaret Ray Reddick. I had a friend say that to me. You're the best Scott Shawn White that's ever existed. And it really stuck with me, right? And then if you try to be something you're not, well, there's almost no way you can succeed.
I recently heard...
I wouldn't have heard any of that when I was in my 20s or 30s, or probably even my 40s, because I'm not the brightest fellow.
I just the other day heard a Chris Williams podcast. He was interviewing Gary Vee, and what you said ties in exactly to something they were talking about. Gary Vee was talking about authenticity and his longevity of his career and this and that. And he's basically saying, a lot of people can try to fake it till they make it, but you can only fake it for so long, because you can't be something. It's going to catch up with you that you're not authentic and that you're not the expert, or you don't know this, or it's going to catch up if you're not being yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's also the reason people like Zach Bryan are blowing up. And my friend Brian Martin. I mean, he's a great example too. The dude's got 7.2 million monthly listeners on Spotify. And they didn't go to radio until 6 months ago. Yeah. He had 6 million before they ever went to radio. And I think with artists like that, there's this thirst out in the marketplace for just be real with me, please. And they can sense that from Zach Bryan, and they can sense that from Brian Martin. And I've known Brian Martin for 8 years. I'll tell you right now, Brian Martin is being Brian Martin. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why, it's working.
I'm embarrassed to say this, but I actually just learned that lesson. And when I first started the country thing, I was like, I'm going to be opposite. I don't want to be Jaret Reddick from Bowling for Soup. I don't want to be funny. I don't want to talk between songs. Like all of those things that, and even song wise, I was like, yeah, I'll be humorous-ish, but like, I don't know. I don't want people to think it's a joke. And it was coming from a good place. And, I wore jeans on stage and I wore a button up shirt and, I did all of these things to sort of try and make the people take the music seriously. But when I did that, for the first 6-8 months of me getting out and playing what I realized was just how unauthentic it was. It made me uncomfortable. So even my band were going, will you just be you? Like, just be yourself. That people love you, and, now if you come see a country show, I wear exactly the same thing I wear to Bowling for Soup shows. I talk in between songs and sometimes there's tangents and, and I do not mind being funny. And, I did not buy I was in the market for a really expensive cowboy hat that I didn't buy, but it all does come back down to that of just, being yourself. And, it's like that in so many industries too. I think it's just like that in life, as Gary's saying. Like when I started doing voice acting, my agent was like, stop trying to imitate everybody else. Voice acting isn't impressions. Voice acting is you being you.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just really cool. And the other thing that I was going to say about your age too, though, or just your journey, age is not really important anymore. Which is awesome for guys like us, right?
Yeah.
But your journey, the fact that you did start so late is fucking perspective, as you were saying. Like, we didn't really get into your childhood, but you had a rough upbringing, rough kind of time getting there. But by the time you start writing songs, you have a wife and two beautiful daughters at home, and your perspective, you like you said, you're listening now. You know, you're not telling people, you're listening. And it would have been interesting, though, to hear a Scott Sean White write a fucking angry song back when you were about 27, 28 years old.
You know, I wasn't ever angry about that stuff, funny enough. But I did, slightly related to that, I did write and produce hip hop and R&B for about 20 years before I ever went to Nashville.
What?
Yeah.
That's
all
awesome.
all the songs I've had in TV shows and movies and all that, it's all hip hop and R&B. And
so it was always music. It's always been music for you.
It's always been music. Yeah.
Right. You weren't a fireman until you went to Nashville. You just, because you look like a fireman. Like, you're big. You're big. You're really tall. Like, you're a specimen of a man. You know, guys. You know, you be careful taking your ladies to a Scott Sean White song. Just know that this is a specimen of a man. And but, dude, I'm just so cool to hear your journey. Thank you for sharing all of that. And you know, congratulations on the newest record, which I love that it's so much like, you know, I love where you're at in music because you're releasing something and you're already excited about that next thing, you know, and that's only going to benefit your fans, you know, and such a cool thing. Scott Sean White, tell us a little bit about the latest record before we let you go. But what's it called? What are the singles? Where can people get it? And you know,
the album is called Even Better on the Bad Days, which is a line of lyric from the 5th single that we put out, which is, the song is called God is Good. But there's a line of lyric in there that song says, God is good on the good days, even better on the bad days. So that's where the title of the album came from. That particular song is completely true, every word, kind of like Call It Even. The title track from the first album was completely true, every word of it. We put out 5 singles before the record came out. Pulling Weeds has been the biggest one. It's done like 93,000 streams or something, which is ginormous for me. Ginormous. So, and Hope You Never Do with Radney Foster was one. And a song I wrote with John Bauman, Small World, was one. And it was produced by Dave Brainerd, who did Brandy Clark's 12 Stories album, which got a Grammy nomination back in 2014 or something. And I've known Dave for almost 20 years and just reached out to him when I started working on this record. Said, hey, I don't know if I can afford you, and I don't know if you'd even be interested. But I could barely afford him, and he was very interested. So he really brought those songs to life and brought so much to the table that I would have never thought of, and really just nailed it, you know, as a non-Nashville record, just as a songwriter record, you know. So
I mean, so who do you have help? You have guidance in all this? Because, you know, I mean, 4 or 5 singles before the record comes out is such a new school way to approach it. Or are you just paying attention?
I'm just paying attention. You know, I tell people often that I'm so lucky and grateful for the journey and the business side too, because, you know, I started in several cover bands when I was like 20. Then one of them morphed into Professor D, which was a corporate band that was, you know, it's still around. I sold the business of it in 2018, and I'd been in it for 29 years, but I did all the booking, promoting. I was the MD. I was the TM. I did everything, right?
Okay, we talked about that in the first episode you were on. Fascinating way. So,
and so all that figures into my current journey too, though, which is kind of unexpected. Now I book myself. I do all the stuff for me as an artist now that I did for the band back then. I was a studio engineer for 3 different studios in the 90s around the Dallas area. That figures into what I do. Like all this stuff over 3 decades of working figures into my everyday life as an independent artist and songwriter. It's wild and cool.
It comes back to relationships, experience, it comes at getting in there, doing the work, getting your hands dirty, doing the damn thing, Scott Shaun White, where can people find you on the interwebs? Where do you want people to go?
Well, ScottShaunWhite.com is the website, and Sean is Sean. I think my mama had a crush on Sean Connery. And then as far as where you can get the music, I'm going to steal a line I heard several of my friends say in Key West. My music is available everywhere you steal your music.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we've been saying that since the early 2000s. We just used to mean something completely different.
Really? I just heard it this week in Key West. Everywhere you steal your music.
Yeah, well, our hits all happened during the LimeWire and Napster days, so we literally meant go steal it.
That's right.
Yeah,
they did.
They did, and then we had that. So this is crazy. 1985 did not even come out as a single in the UK, where we were the biggest. So we literally toured over there for 2 years, telling people, "Go steal this. It's the only way you can get it. So go get it." And they did. They went and got it. And but we have 2 other songs that are bigger sales wise in the UK than 1985, which is insanity. But just how it works. Yeah, weird stuff. Scott Shaun White, thank you, man. Thanks for coming on, and have a freaking great summer. Be careful out there on the road, and I am certain that you and I will run into one another very soon.
I hope so.
I see you, brother.
Hey, and everybody else, we will see you next time right here, the Rockstar Dad Show, or you'll hear us, or I don't know what we're doing anymore, guys. Seriously, just keep listening. Leave us a review, all that shit.
This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know, some rockstar dads who started a show. Until the next episode.